Hey, it's Thomas Mulready from CoolCleveland.com, and we're here today at WCLV, and we're here with Bob Conrad, who's president and co-founder of WCLV. Hey, Bob, thanks for talking with us today.
Happy to be here in front of WCLV.
We're right here. The tower's right behind you. You don't use that tower anymore, though, do you?
No, that belongs to a company called American Tower. And there are two other radio stations. The Fish is on it and K-Rock is on it. Our tower is out in Avon.
Right. You're out on...
But we did build this one.
You built this one?
This was back when we were at 95.5.
Right.
Now we're 104.9.
You guys made a big deal a few years ago and sold...
2001 is more than a few years ago.
It's a while back now. But you sold the 95.5.
That's right.
And you created a foundation.
That's right. Actually, we didn't sell 95.5. We traded 95.5 for 104.9 and 1420 AM and a pile of money along with it.
but you put that money into a foundation.
That's right. There was enough value in the deal that we were able to donate WCLV to the WCLV Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization, to ensure that WCLV as a classical music station would be able to continue far into the future.
Well, that's important because a lot of towns these days, big cities, don't have classical music. Isn't that right?
That's very true. 1990, there were something like 90 commercial classical music stations in the United States. Now it's down to about 20.
Wow.
Even in the public sector, classical music stations have been disappearing because there are some people in public radio who think that there shouldn't be any music at all in public radio.
No, it's just talk radio now.
It'll become talk radio and so forth. But we're going to fight the good fight here in Cleveland, and classical music will continue on the radio in Northeast Ohio.
Well, that's going to be your legacy, isn't it? I mean, thanks to you and some of the decisions that you've made here, because it could have gone, gotten ugly.
We could have sold out and retired to Florida,
right?
And you wouldn't have classical music in Cleveland.
But here you are, and still in Cleveland. You started really in radio way back when.
I was 14 years old in Kankakee, Illinois. I had been very passionate about radio as far back as I can remember. I think I was 5 years old when I asked my mother, what does it take to be a radio announcer? And she said, learn how to pronounce all the words in the dictionary.
Seriously?
Which I have yet to do.
Yeah, right. And now you've got to learn all the classical names.
Well, I picked those up along the way.
Right.
Actually, when I started in Evanston at Northwestern University, I worked for the local commercial FM station, and they played classical music in the evening, and so I would bring the music sheet home, and my three roommates in my freshman year were music students, and so we sit down and puzzle out how to pronounce all the names.
How do you figure that out sometimes? Because I know when we do interviews, I've got to ask the person, how do you pronounce your name? Because often it's not obvious.
Well, the thing is to do it authoritatively, whether it's right or not.
That's the trick.
If you hesitate, you're lost.
Right. But you really stayed on the radio. You worked your way up. You were a gopher, basically, when you started.
Well, I went down to the local radio station and hung around until they said, here, carry this.
Yeah.
And what I carried was the remote gear for the basketball broadcast. And I would go out with the sportscaster and do the engineering. And I also did kept score for the games. And then they gave me a teenage program to do on Saturday afternoon. And the year that I graduated from high school on WKAN in Kankakee, Illinois, I had the vacation replacement job. So when the regular announcers went on vacation, I took over. One of the programs I did was a live country and western show called Hayloft Jamboree.
Cool.
With Harley Dowell, the Sun Valley Boys, and Sunbeam Marsha Jean Gokul.
And this is about what year?
Well, this would have been in 1951.
Wow.
And I was 17 years old.
And you were known as?
Sagebrush Bob. It was pretty heady stuff for a 17-year-old. I'll tell you that.
I'll bet. You don't go by that these days.
No, it's been a long time since.
Right.
Harley Dowell and the Sun Valley Boys aren't with the Cleveland Orchestra, but I am.
No, you still are. But you stayed with it through into college, and when you came out, you went in the Army.
I was in the Army in Hawaii.
Yeah, but
really,
it was
really tough duty, and I worked for a couple of radio stations there in the evening while I was in the Army.
it was like the radio broadcasting and leafleting
Oh, well, the
battalion.
the unit I was in was called the 14th Radio Broadcasting and Leaflet Battalion. It was a psychological warfare unit. And
Seriously.
I was in the Army between the Korean War and the Vietnam War, when it was fun to go to Vietnam and Cambodia.
Right.
And we were working in contingencies. And one of our problems was the country of Laos, which is right next to communist China at that time, and Vietnam and Cambodia and Thailand. And it was a very vital piece of geography. And the problem was, how do we talk to the people in Laos?
Right.
Because only 20% of the population was literate. And so we decided we were going to drop transistor radios with little parachutes
You're kidding me.
on everybody. And to test it, we got the Army to give us an airplane, and we got a parachute that we wanted to try. And we knew the Marines were going to be doing maneuvers up in the hills, and so we had a plane fly over and drop cold beer by these parachutes down on the Marine unit.
Just
in
to
the
see if the
field.
parachutes would work.
Mainly, and to see what the Marines would do. Well, they broke ranks to go get the beer,
Wow.
and the officers were really fried because they get back in line, they're
Oh.
booby-trapped and so forth. Made the Honolulu Advertiser.
That's crazy. Wow. And so you stayed with that, and then eventually you went back to
I went back to
Chicago.
Chicago. I was been working for WFMT in Chicago
Right.
before I went in the Army. Back to FMT, then to Detroit,
Right.
where I helped put on an FM station, WDTM.
And then you got a fateful call from somebody in Cleveland that you probably
His name
didn't
was
even know
CK
at the
That's
time.
right. His name was C.K. Patrick, and he was in the process of trying to buy this brand new FM station in Cleveland, whose call letters were WDGO. Well, we eventually were able to buy the station, and we took over in November of 1962. And the rest, of course, as they say, is history.
And you did that for many years and successfully have deals with the Cleveland Orchestra, put a big radio network together, international network of hundreds of affiliates, and really did a great job with developing that whole classical music vein, not just here in Cleveland, but really nationally, internationally.
Well, yes, we have the Cleveland Orchestra, which is still on, which we started in 1965 as a national broadcast.
Wow.
And now it's heard in Hong Kong and Manila and in Europe, and as well as on about 135 radio stations around the United States.
And then in the mid-90s, consolidation, Clear Channel, all of a sudden the FCC changed the rules and you could buy up multiple stations, and you found yourself sitting on a gold mine, basically.
Well, yes, it turned out to be that way, and we were able to make the deal, which gave us 104.9, and we got 1420 AM, and as I said, a pile of money on top of that.
Right.
And we were able to then donate WCLV to the WCLV Foundation.
Well, that's a happy ending, but it's not over yet. You're still involved. I admire the fact that you're in here hands-on. You
Oh, I
still
have-
have fun with it.
I have absolutely no intention of retiring. They're going to take me feet first out of the broadcast booth at Severance Center with that microphone in my cold dead hand.
And that's a small booth. I've been in that place. Did you help design that?
No, they designed it for us. We told them what we wanted, and in the renovation,
Yeah, right.
they took care of it.
You weren't there when they first built it, but no, but that's a small booth.
Yes, it is. Well, we only need 2 people at the most, and
Right.
generally only 1 person in
Right.
there. So it's cozy.
Yes, it is. But the story's not over yet. You're looking forward to the future. Things are changing a lot. The internet is here. What are you looking forward to?
Well, I think the internet's going to play more and more of a part in what we do. We've been in the internet since I think it was about 1996 that we started.
Right.
And we're getting more and more listeners from around the world. Boise, Idaho, and Tel Aviv, and Japan,
Yeah.
and Germany, and Russia, and so forth. But it's more important, I think, in the local area, because there are people who are in offices where they can't get any radio reception, and they're able to listen to us and other internet radio stations in the office as they're working. So that's a very important audience.
Right.
And in a couple of years, we're going to have the internet available in our cars.
That's true.
And then you're going to be able to listen to WCLV and anybody else anywhere you drive your car. So if you're going down to Florida, driving down there, you can listen to CLV for the entire length of the trip. And when you get down there,
ubiquitous Wi-Fi everywhere, all the time.
Absolutely. It's a very, very bright and interesting and somewhat frightening future.
Give us your radio sign-off, because I think people, maybe they're confused looking at your picture here on the video with your face. Give us the voice, the Bob Conrad sign-off.
I'm Robert Conrad, not at Severance Hall, with this week's broadcast by the Cleveland Orchestra. And now back to WCLV.
That's fabulous. Thanks for taking time to talk with us, Bob.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Hey, it's Thomas Mulready from CoolCleveland.com. Have a great week in cool Cleveland.